Tonight, the streets will be filled with kids trick-or-treating. Perhaps you will dress in a costume and celebrate as well. But what is this Halloween all about? What are we celebrating? Michael will give us his thoughts on Halloween and tell us what he has learned about this unique holiday. Halloween Musings. Michael Cord's Halloween Musings.
One of my earliest memories of Halloween was watching the movie Halloween 2. Now, I wasn't scared about Michael Myers and him terrorizing the town of Haddonfield, Illinois. The scene that got me was a scene where the little kid had come home and he had an apple. He had been trick-or-treating. And he bit into the apple, and what was in there? A razor blade. His mouth was bleeding, he's screaming, and that just creeped me out. It was scary. Here it was on the screen. This is what my mom had warned me about. Now, if you're anything like me, and I bet you were, when you went trick-or-treating as a kid, you came home with your bag of candy, were you allowed to eat it immediately? Anybody? No. Your parents had to inspect it, right? Make sure it wasn't poisoned. It didn't have razor blades in it. I know my mom would take my candy, run it through the x-ray machine. Okay, well, we didn't have an x-ray machine, but what are you supposed to do? How do you inspect candy? As a parent, as some of you are, have you learned? What do you do? I don't know, but we have this fear that we have to protect our kids because it's a dangerous night. And that's what Halloween is it's fear. In 2008, a journalist actually researched this topic to see where this fear came from. Is it founded in reality? Well, it turns out that no kids have actually died from poison Halloween candy or razor blades. There have been a couple incidents where people have been injured, but most of them were kids playing pranks on each other. So our fear is so out of proportion to what reality is. But I think part of that is that's Halloween. Halloween is this fearful type of time. Halloween as we know it now is also something else. I'll give you an example. A good friend of mine, a grown man of 42 years of age, sent me a picture of his costume. Tonight, he will dress up in full Batman outfit. He will have the hood and the cape, and he's got the belt around there. I swear, he looks as good as you see in the movies. He spent a fortune on this thing, and it's amazing. How else do we celebrate? What do some women like to do on Halloween? Well, it's an excuse to dress up, I don't know, as a sexy policewoman, or a sexy nurse, or a sexy postal worker. And that's what Halloween is for them. How did we get here from these scary beginnings and then these fun activities that we have? Well, Halloween got its origin a little over 2,000 years ago as a pagan holiday. What it was a festival celebrating the end of harvest. The Celtic tradition was a day known as Samhain. Now, if you've seen this written down, I've always thought it was pronounced Samhain, but apparently the Gaelic pronunciation is Samhain, or something close to that. And this day was the celebration of the new year. For them, the new year was on November 1st. Why November 1st? Well, at that time of the year, the harvest was over, all of the crops had been pulled, and now winter was coming. So this was the end of that life and the start of a new one. The days were getting shorter, the nights were getting longer. It was a very foreboding time. If you imagine, winter back then was very scary. You couldn't grow your food. More people died during winter than at any other time in the year. This was also the time that they used to celebrate the dead that had died the previous year. And they felt on the night before the new year, the veil that separated the living from the dead was at its thinnest. And the dead could actually cross over and interact with the living. What became of this is people believed that if they had to leave their homes at night, they should wear a mask or dress up and disguise themselves. This way, the evil spirits might confuse you and think that you're not one of the living and will leave you alone. And ultimately, this grew into what we know now as dressing in costumes on this night. This continued for a while until about the 8th century. And in the 8th century, Pope Gregory III, he decided to appropriate some of these older holidays into Christian holidays to help spread the word of Christianity. Christianity had a day to celebrate saints, and he combined this day with this Samhain Day of Harvest Festival to create what they called All Saints Day, to celebrate not only the dead, but the dead saints. In Gaelic, I'm not sure of the translation, but somehow All Saints Day became known as All Hallows Day. And the night before, All Hallows Evening, All Hallows Eve became Halloween, as we know it now. Well, as Christianity spread throughout the world, this day became more well known. But the original celebrations and celebrating the dead continued. In North America, the Puritans, the original colonists that came over, they were one of the few in the world that were not celebrating Halloween as the rest of the world. It was too much of a celebration of evil and dead. Until in North America, 1846. This was the year of the Great Famine in Ireland, where many Irish settlers left Ireland and emigrated to North America. And when they came to North America, they brought with them their celebrations of Halloween. Part of this included trick-or-treating. Trick-or-treating originally started as an activity of placing food outside of your home. The thought was if you placed food outside of your home, any evil spirits that were wandering around would see that and they would be appeased and not come in and harm you. This eventually evolved into people going to each other's homes and in jest saying, well, I won't harm you or play a trick on you if you give me some food. We know that now as trick-or-treating. By 1920, trick-or-treating had evolved into what we know it now with kids and candy and became more of a happy atmosphere. And Halloween started to change. By 1950, Halloween as we know it now had lost some of its original pagan roots and the evil dead aspects, and it's now become more of a community event. It's fun, people dress up in fun costumes. In fact, if you ask most people now what their favorite holiday is, they will say, well, Christmas, I guess. So you got most people like Christmas. Probably some nut job out there will say, I like Arbor Day the best, but most of the rest of the people will say Halloween. In fact, Halloween is second only to Christmas in terms of consumer spending in America. Tonight, when you put on your costumes, if you have them on now, whether you're getting dressed up as a superhero, as a sexy superhero, whatever you're doing, I want you to have some fun. But I also want you to think back to how Halloween started and remember that it was once a very serious holiday, deadly serious. Thank you.